Diane, whenever you're ready.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm the Executive Director for the Penticton Wine Country Chamber of Commerce, and I just want to say a great thank you to our sponsor, the Association of Interior Realtors, and Heck Yeah Media for their continued support to the Chamber and our local business community. Now I'd like to introduce Lindy Cruikshank, Vice President of Association of Interior Realtors, to say a few words.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Penticton Wine Country Chamber of Commerce All Candidates Town Hall Forum. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Okanagan people. My name is Lindy Cruikshank, and I am the Vice President of the Association of Interior Realtors. We are again pleased to co-sponsor tonight's event along with Heck Yeah Media. For the safety of the public and in accordance with government regulations, tonight's event is brought to you virtually. The 2021 by-election is being held on June 19th and is to fill one vacancy for the position of councillor. We have 10 candidates running in this by-election. In first name alphabetical order, please help me welcome Amelia Woltby, Isaac Gilbert, James Blake, James Miller, Jason Cox, Karen Brownlee, Kate Hansen, Kate Okell, Keith McIntyre, and Steve Brown. Good luck to all of our eligible voters, and we encourage you to cast your vote on June 19th. On behalf of the Association of Interior Realtors and our membership of 1,600 plus realtors, welcome and thank you for watching. I will now pass things over to Diane Kerluck, the Executive Director of the Penticton Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Lindy. I would like to also mention that Harpreet Sidhu with Heck Yeah Media will be providing the technical support for this evening, along with being our timekeeper. Now, just a bit of rules and regulations so everybody out there understands what the candidates, what the process they're going through. First of all, each candidate will have a minute to introduce themselves. The order of speaking was determined by electronic randomizer. The timekeeper will be keeping track of the time and will hold up a yellow card when there are 20 seconds remaining and a red card when time is up. We ask each candidate to adhere to the time limits in order to give everyone equal opportunity to speak. Candidates will be muted when the time is up. Following candidates' opening remarks, we will begin addressing the questions that were submitted in advance. Each candidate will answer a minimum of 2 questions, which were determined by electronic randomizer. Zoom question and answers will be monitored for questions that are coming in live. If we are unable to answer these questions, these will be shared with the candidates following the forum, and we'll ask them but we ask your questions be concise and to the point. Questions submitted on Facebook Live will not be answered. Each candidate has 2 rebuttal cards. 45 seconds will be permitted for rebuttals. The red card will indicate the time is up. Rebuttal cards are to be used after a question is asked and answered. They cannot save them up. The moderators will rule out of order any question deemed inappropriate, offensive, or derogatory, or that seems to attack the integrity of the candidate. The moderators will have final jurisdiction on all matters. The moderators of the forum will be Jonathan McGraw, President of the Chamber, and Nicole Clark, past President and Chair of the Advocacy Committee. Each candidate will be given 45 seconds for closing remarks. The order of speakers will be the reverse of the introduction. Now, that being said, we'll carry on and what we're all here for, to listen to our candidates.
Can we have the order of the candidates to have their 1-minute presentation of their introductions? Diane, do you mind? Do you have that list, Diane, of the order? Or does Lindy have that?
I believe Kate was first and then Steve Brown.
Okay, the first order is Kate Hansen.
Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity to be here. My name is Kate Hansen and my family has been in Penticton for over 100 years. I grew up here and I truly believe it's the best place in Canada to live and raise a family. I have spent the last 29 years serving the citizens of Canada as an RCMP member, and with the last 5 years working right here in Penticton. I have seen many changes in our city and I understand there's a perception that Penticton is unsafe. Our community is concerned about public safety, as well as homelessness, addictions, and an increase in property crime. It's these concerns that have motivated me to run for City Council. I am a devoted mom, a retired RCMP officer, a children's book author, a Catholic parishioner, a wife, a sister, and a horse enthusiast. I will work hard to ensure that Penticton remains a safe, modern city, yet keeps its small town charm. As a community, as a safe community is one where people want to come and visit and enjoy our services provided by your business.
Great, thank you, Kate. Next, we have Steve Brown.
Thank you. Why should business owners support me? Because I'm one of you. I understand what it's like to be the first to come in the morning and open the doors and the last one to leave at night. I understand what it's like to pay the government, to pay the bank, to pay the suppliers, to pay your staff, and to have nothing left at the end of the day to pay yourself. I know what it's like to deliver papers in the morning before going to work, so we've got enough money to pay for the kids' swim club fees or piano lessons. I know what it's like to risk tens of thousands of dollars on an expansion project only to have it go sideways. But I also know what it's like the day you realize that you have survived the hard work, the risk, and that your business is on solid footing and you will be successful. My name is Steve Brown. I represent experience that matters, and I bring that experience to the table.
Great, thank you, Steve. Next, we have Isaac Gilbert.
Good evening and hello everyone, and thank you to the Chamber for hosting this event tonight. My name is Isaac Gilbert. I'm a BC Park Ranger here in town. I'm also someone who started a local cooperative called Peach Gravy Theater Cooperative and helped out many other and local businesses here in town. And that's why I'm here and why I believe that I'm a good support for the local businesses here in town is that I want to see a vibrant Penticton, a Penticton that is also very sustainable, that our businesses can sustain themselves over time and all year round. And that's why my platform really works to bring that in, to bring in affordable housing for people so that workers and people on all classes can have a place to live affordably, and also to build an economy and to sustain it all year round by partnering up with the Okanagan College. Working with the Okanagan College, it would bring in a much needed influx of people in the wintertime to help sustain the local businesses in town. And I hope that you support my platform. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Isaac. Next, we have Amelia Boopby.
Good evening to everyone tuning in, fellow candidates, and thank you to our hosts for this event. My name is Amelia Woltby, and I'm looking for your support as your next city councillor because I understand the needs of business owners, as my whole family are small business owners in Penticton. So I know that keeping taxes low, tackling crime downtown, and working on solutions to the challenges of attracting employees are some of the issues that we need for keeping our community strong. Even growing up, I was very engaged in the local business community. In fact, all the way back in 2005, I was the Chamber of Commerce Young Citizen of the Year. And if elected, I'll show that same level of commitment and engagement to your needs. Business owners are the backbone of our community, so I hope to work with you, and thank you for having me here to speak about my platform.
Thank you, Amelia. Next, we have Karen Brownlee.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having us here. I am Karen Brownlee. I have lived in Penticton for a little over 30 years, my own business for a little over 25 in the lawn care industry. A lot of my Sorry, I got punted out. So yeah, I have many small business owners who are my customers as I do lawn care for them. And it's just teamwork. It's give and take and how we operate together in this community, which will make us successful. And I will be bringing my business acumen to City Hall in the financial area as my platform.
Thank you, Karen. Sorry, we just had a little bit of technical difficulties there. Next, we have James Blake.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for putting this on tonight. My name is James Blake, and myself and my family moved here in 2012 to open the new Landmark Cinemas. I have a wonderful 6-year-old daughter, 12-year-old daughter, and a son that just finished his first year in college. We have grown to love this city, and we have known so many kindnesses of everybody that's been here. We believe that the people of this town deserve the best. And as of the last several years, we've seen declines in the city, and it has been deeply upsetting. And now we're at a pivotal? We're at an important time. We're trying to pull ourselves out of a pandemic, and the world seems set to race out of it. And I myself was homeless when I was a teenager, and I managed to pull myself out of it. And I can relate to that element in this city, but I grew to run multi-million-dollar businesses. And I think
I believe James ran out of time. Sorry, James. Next, we have Jason Cox.
Thank you to the Chamber, Heck Yeah Media, and the Association of Interior Realtors for putting this on, and thank you for everyone for attending. There's a big election coming up in October 15th, 2022. That's only 16 months away, and I bring it up because whoever you choose in the June 19th by-election needs to be ready to step in and work effectively on June 20th. I humbly submit that I'm the candidate with a body of work in Penticton with the relevant experience to step up into this role. I would put to you that next to City Council, the Chamber is the body in the community that's responsible for advocacy and input into public policy. Particularly, the position of Chamber President is a leading position in the community. I've been honored to be elected by the business community to the Chamber Board for 16 consecutive years, just coming off this year, and I served as president 3 times. I know what it's like to make decisions on public policy and fight for the people of Penticton, have a seat at the table with other levels of government. And I look forward to the interaction tonight, and I can't wait to show you that I'm here because I have the solutions and the answers to the hard questions that are facing our community.
Thank you, Jason. Next, we have James Miller.
Thank you. As managing editor of the Penticton Herald, I do not touch advertising or circulation in any way. However, I am responsible for putting out a product that people will want to subscribe to. BC has lost daily newspapers in Nanaimo and Kamloops, and the Prince George Citizen is now a weekly. All are larger centers. I've kept the Herald operating in a market with viable competitors, thanks to my incredible colleagues and the incredible support of our readership. To stay in business, I've made solid, challenging decisions. I've hired well, worked as a team, and listened to the needs of our customers. I've been both cautious, but an occasional risk taker. I will bring all those attributes to City Council if elected. I shop locally and always put Penticton #1. I will always put the needs of this community ahead of mine and my family. I promise that. Please vote for James Miller. It's Miller time.
Thank you, James. Next, we have Keith McIntyre.
Hello, I'm Keith. You guys probably know me reasonably well by now. I've been in Penticton for 10.5 years, father of 2 teenage boys. I've been a business owner for 18 years with Big Bear Software. I'm a past director in the Chamber of Commerce, and I've been the Business Leader of the Year with the organization as well. You know me from running for MLA last October, and I'm now the leader of the BC Libertarian Party as well. I'm running a $0 campaign because I think this election is completely unnecessary. The province is forcing us through the Elections Act to elect a councillor. We can run our city with the number of councillors that we have now, but here we are. I'm going to focus on businesses and push back on the provincial bullies that John Horgan government is causing us a great deal of damage. I will put a motion in immediately that we should have an exemption from the provincial restrictions so that we can open our businesses right now and operate safely. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Keith. And we have our final candidate, Katie Okell.
Thank you all for having me here. My name is Katie Okell, and like many of you, I am a small business owner. We have all been struggling, but the problems for small businesses here go deeper than pandemic restrictions. Penticton has a lack of staffing and security. I want to fight for my fellow small business owners. We need affordable housing so our staff can afford to live here, and more housing overall so new businesses can afford to move here. I propose increasing density downtown via townhouses and carriage houses to fill the housing gap. I'm overjoyed by today's purchase by the province of affordable housing. Every resident, no matter their age, race, or economic status, deserves to feel safe in their homes, businesses, and our community. I will work with the RCMP to get a beat cop on duty. A police officer walking downtown creates a visible deterrent to crime and creates a sense of safety and security. Customers need to feel safe walking into your businesses. Perhaps more importantly, your staff need to be safe locking the back door at the end of the day. I get this. I work a small business too.
Great, thank you. Now we're going to get into the question period, and this is when I hand it over to Jason and Nicole.
Well, thanks.
Jonathan and Nicole,
for
sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you, everyone. That was great to hear from you. And we also look forward to your answers and your closing comments. So let's get right into it. The first question that we have will be addressed to Steve Brown and Kate Hansen. So we'll start with Steve. Both of you are receiving the same question. So it is important to support small businesses' vitality at every stage of the business life cycle. How do you see City Council impacting the attraction and retention of new businesses? Steve, would you like to go first, please? And if you need me to repeat it, just let me know.
What I would like to see from City Council is to attract further businesses and provide some vitality is that we need a economic development commission made up of all of the business groups, the Chamber, DPA, tourism, and the Industrial Development Association, along with the professional development officer by the city, and that we can work together collaboratively to recognize and pull together some of the priorities that we need to attract new businesses into Penticton. That's probably the first thing. The second thing is that we need to take a look at our business taxes, and that we are in a position to compete against the other communities that we are looking at, that we consider our competitors when we're looking at attracting businesses.
Thank you, Steve. You ran out of time, but thank you for your response. I'll now address the same question to Kate. Kate, let me know if you need me to repeat the question.
Thank you. To attract new business, I really think that we need to create some incentives for new businesses to come into town. We need great collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce, and we need to promote our tourism that's bringing the people in. We also have to concentrate on public safety and social disorder, because if people don't feel that Penticton is safe, they're not going to come and visit here. They'll see homeless people walking around. They see people shooting up and doing drugs. They see what appears to be homeless people walking around. If we correct this problem, we'll make people feel safer when they're walking around as tourisms. We can do this collaboratively with the Chamber of Commerce, working together with the police and the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. I'll turn this over to Nicole.
Sorry,
Oh,
Jonathan.
I'm sorry, we have a rebuttal. Yes, Jason, would you like to rebuttal that?
I would, thank you. And, you know, just, I'd like to point out, I've chaired actually the Economic Development Committee for the city back when the Chamber ran economic development, tourism development, and the visitor center on a fee for service for the city. So I know how it works. And I can tell you that all of those groups that Steve mentioned have been at the table for years. I think what we need to do when we're talking about attracting and recruiting business to the community is go to our business community and look for what the gaps are. So look for, you know, we've had, for example, in the past, targeted doctor recruitment. We can have targeted recruitment that helps our industrial sector. We can have targeted recruitment that helps our retail sector. We have a very good team in economic development at the city, and I would love to work with them to work on targeting exactly what we need to bring into the community to support businesses and help them run better.
Thank you, Jason. Any other rebuttals before we move on? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next question.
Okay, question number 2 is for Isaac Gilbert and James Blake. A recent rezoning request for a much needed development of an apartment building was defeated by council in a tied vote. The comments from some council members who voted against the development said they were influenced by the local residents who were speaking out against it. When it comes to making decisions, how much influence do you think the vocal minority might have on you when you vote?
Yeah, thank you so much, Nicole, for that for that question. Yeah, so with this project, I think it is a much needed development to bring in housing into town, as you know, we are restricted by 2 lakes and mountainsides with it. And I think it's, you know, I come with the attitude of having either a no or a yes and I think on that project, I for myself, I would have voted yes on the project, and I would have listened to the residents that brought up a lot of concerns when it came to the environment, it came to traffic, and it came to noise. And you know, at the step of the way, all that was being asked for is a rezoning to an apartment complex. And I would have said yes to that, because the next stage we would have then been able to put some of the restrictions into Broad Street properties to address the concerns of traffic issues there and noise and the construction, and make sure that the residents there feel welcome and they're not it's an intrusion into their neighborhood.
Thanks for that answer, Isaac. James Blake, your turn.
Hello, thank you very much. We are certainly in a very unique position in our city. We are bordered by mountains and lakes, and we have a very limited amount of land. And in that particular case, some people wanted more parkland, some people wanted more affordable housing, more housing in general, just to hopefully contain the prices increasing. And when it comes to listening to vocal minorities, I believe it's important to listen to everybody. Everybody has a point of view, and you need to come up with a balance and maybe think outside the box and be more creative. I believe in that scenario, instead of building a 5 or 6 story building that it would have taken up all of the land, why don't we go up and build a 15-story building with a smaller footprint, and then we could have built a park alongside of it that the entire city could have enjoyed. I think we're going to have to face the fact that we need targeted high rises if we're going to increase the amount of homes in the area at all. We have no land to build.
Thanks, James. Do we have any rebuttals for this question?
Yes, we do. First one will be Keith and then Amelia.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll first address the vocal minority. Like, obviously everybody's input is important as a vocal minority in the provincial politics. I understand that, but I have a fundamental belief in property rights, and this developer fairly purchased this land at well above market value, 2 million more than the asking price, and they've proposed a much needed rental complex. It's appealing, it looks great. I think city council focused too much on whether or not they're going to get voted in the next election. And I think there's been a little too much nostalgia about David Campy, who's a great person and a donator to the community. But, you know, in essence, they bought this property and they should be allowed to build on it. And the council should get out of the way of businesses.
Thanks, Keith. Amelia?
Yes, thanks so much. My rebuttal is just with respect to the idea that high rises should be the preferable mode of development. I'm very pro-development, but I think that of the various modes of housing development, it should be very low down on the list, just because it's not going to really accord with the look and feel of Penticton. I think development into the hillsides where appropriate, carriage houses, duplexes, and other forms of multifamily housing are preferable to high rises. Although we could have a few, I don't think it should be our first choice. Thanks.
Thanks for that, Amelia. Are there any other rebuttals on this one? Okay, I'll turn it back to Jonathan.
All right, so the next question is for Amelia and James Miller. So we hear from businesses that safety and security is a problem across the city. They are seeing an increase in petty theft as well as an increase in more organized theft. While on the other hand, some employees are frightened to leave their employer's premises when it is dark, especially in the wintertime. And others are having to walk around people human waste and bodies blocking access to their buildings. How do you suggest this safety and security issue be resolved? Amelia, you answer first, please.
Thank you so much for that question. This is one of the main issues why I'm running in this by-election. I think that the fact our RCMP officers have 170 cases each, which is completely disproportionate to any other detachment here in BC, is unacceptable. We need at least 5 more RCMP officers immediately. Council recently failed to pass a motion to have more bylaw officers downtown, which I would have voted in favor of. I think of any time in our history, now is the time to support small business owners by giving them the support they need downtown so that they don't have this disproportionate problem of petty crime. Thank you.
Thank you. And James?
Thank you for the question. I support council's hardline approach against BC housing. Quite frankly, I don't feel that they've lived up to their part of the deal. I know this is a very sensitive issue. I think our seniors in our community aren't really asking for a lot when all they want to do is have a safe walk, be able to take their grandkids to the park and not worry about stepping on a syringe. Community living, for example, at the south end of town vowed that they'd be great neighbors. Obviously they haven't been because there's all kinds of issues. So I would ask for the audit from the province that BC Housing tell us exactly what it is they're doing. Please keep in mind that this is an organization that spent $450,000 on themselves on the Winnipeg Street facility. They took away a common area which the cadets and residents used and put in glass offices, which the media is not even allowed to get a tour of, apparently looks like Donald Trump's office on The Celebrity Apprentice. They can do better.
Do we have any rebuttals?
Yes, we do. We have three. It'll be Jason Cox, Katie Okell, then Isaac Gilbert.
Oh, and see, Kate Hansen's raising her. I think Kate Hansen as well. Jason, can we start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm so familiar with this question, and I just want to say, you know, when we're talking about public safety, I'd like to broaden it beyond just the law enforcement approach. I think in recent years, we've seen the city spend more and more money on bylaw, more and more money on RCMP, and I'm not saying that that's not a good thing. But what we have is no social support around it. So recently, the province in the last 2 years gave a bunch of money to IHA to help with addictions, mental health, and that went into committees and mid-level management, no street-level support. This council needs to be working with our provincial partner to make sure that we're getting the street-level support to move the problem by helping the people. And rather than having a emergency vehicle with 2 officers show up, have trained people for issues of poverty, addiction, and mental health.
Thank you, Jason. Katie Okell.
Thank you. So I agree with Amelia that I think that we need increased visibility, particularly downtown, but I disagree that bylaw is the best way to do it. I strongly believe that having a police officer physically walking is more effective, as they can actually do things and have a little bit more power and a little bit more jurisdiction. I also agree with Jason in terms of social support. There's a lot of evidence that if you involve perpetrators in the community, they're less likely to continue to perpetuate crime, particularly prolific offenders. Programs like paying them to clean up the community instead of paying a bylaw officer to do it, and involving more social justice programs instead of just trying to get people in jail, which is obviously not happening in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate Hansen, would you like to rebuttal still?
Yes, thank you, I would. So there's several issues on this point. First of all, rather than hiring more bylaw officers, how about we get them to work with police? Because remember, bylaw officers don't have any powers of arrest. If they work jointly together, which the city council can mandate, we would be much more effective of our time and energy. The police should also be filling their vacancies. Before we ask for more members, how about we fill the vacancies that are already here? This is all a subject of social disorder. We have, you know, drug use, we have crime, we have graffiti. That's why our employers are afraid to go out. If we deal with the problem, we get back to basics, push and, you know, the provincial government to get with BC Housing and Interior Health to deal with mental health and addictions. If we work this all together, we could be much more effective and working with the community.
Thank you, Katie. Now, Hapri, I believe there was one more rebuttal, but there's hand went down. I'm not sure.
It was me that put the rebuttal in.
Okay, thank you, Isaac. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know, we talk a lot about enforcement and adding more police officers and more bylaw. And, you know, we have this hardline stance that the council wants to go after the BC Housing. And you look at it, if we're really going to try to address this, we need to bring housing and affordable housing and supportive housing. And you know what James Miller doesn't mention in the fact that he's supposed to ask the hard questions is that city council is actually breaking their own official community plan under the affordable housing section, where that if there's a need and it's demonstrated, which there is, because if we don't have the shelter, 42 people go homeless, they are supposed to work with senior levels of government, nonprofit housing sector, business developers to build shelters and transition homes. So if we want to start transitioning our city to start getting people off the street, start seeing less crime, yes, I believe in challenging the province to bring in those services like a safe supply, but we also got to bring in housing for people to get them off the street and into houses.
Thank you, Isaac. James, I saw your hand, your hands up. Go ahead, James. James Blake. I'm sorry, we'll come back to you, James Miller. James Blake was first.
Hi, thank you. And this is something maybe Kate can even weigh in on. this is an example of, I think, what happens on a regular basis in our city. And it's probably certainly not just us. Is that one evening at the theater, I had somebody come into the theater and was threatening and frightened customers. And I ended up having to call the police on him. The police officer walks in the door and the guy goes running out the door. The police officer just kind of watches him walk out the door. And the officer was like, that guy, I could bring up at least 150 incidences with that guy on my computer right now. And I assure you, if I go ahead and take him away, he'll be right back out the next day. It seems like the police officer.
Sorry, James. Your 45 seconds has expired, but thank you for your comment. James Miller, would you still like to rebuttal?
Yes, a few points. First of all, pulling funding for Pathways Addiction Center, IH, and the provincial government is abominable. That is the first step, and programs like Discovery House to keeping people off the streets eventually. Secondly, once upon a time, there was citizens on patrol. A new staff superintendent came in with the RCMP. He didn't see it valuable. I would like to see that reinstated. They're volunteers, at least it's a presence. And they did have a downtown beat cop, Sergeant Don Wigglesworth, downtown Don. I went on patrol with him twice. He's a rock star in the downtown. He's been promoted to Oliver in the meantime, but I would like to see that position reinstated. Thank you.
Thank you, James. And I believe that's all the rebuttals. Is that correct, Harpreet?
I'm not seeing any other hands up. Can I just ask the candidates if they do want a rebuttal to keep your hands raised because that tells us in which order you want to be addressing. So we pick you guys in the correct order of when you raise your hands. It'll make it a little bit easier on us as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next question.
Well, that was a lively discussion. This question is for Keith McIntyre and Jason Cox. Businesses currently bear 1.91 times more of the property tax burden than a residential property owner. Do you think this is fair? And what are your plans to address this? Keith, go ahead.
I don't think any tax is fair. Taxation is theft. We did not consent to this tax. Yeah, as far as businesses taking more of the brunt, I don't agree with that. Businesses are what help residences thrive. I'm not sure what the history is behind that, but it should be shared equally. Businesses provide a lot to the community, as do residents. Realistically, what should be happening though is the government should be reducing their services. We should, as a community, be standing up for ourselves and reducing our reliance on the government, and then our property taxes will go down. I don't understand why we've, as a culture and society, deferred our responsibilities to the governments. As a community, we can do a lot better, and our tax gets kind of filtered down and diminished when we give it to the government. We can do better.
Thanks, Keith. Jason?
Thank you. So, in my time on the chamber, this is an issue that we fight in every year's budget. We go to the city, we advocate to keep prices and rates more fair for business because that's a cost that ends up being overhead for a business before they even open the door. And if it's charged to landlords, it gets pushed down to tenants and eventually gets pushed to the consumer. So, this is one of the things that I think, unfortunately, council members who think more about getting reelected than about what's best for the community, they think about the residential business differential. Residents tend to vote more than maybe business owners who don't even live here. So it's important that everyone attending the meeting tonight, if you're a business owner or you work for a business, probably all of you do, or know someone in business and are involved in the community, get out and vote because it's important that a business voice be at the council table to remember that we need to keep things affordable for those those businesses that are struggling so hard already to
Thanks, Jason. Do we have any rebuttals on this one?
I'm not seeing any.
Very good. Jonathan, I'll turn it back over to you.
I'm sorry, Steve Brown's hands
Oh.
raising.
Steve Brown. Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you. I agree with basically what everybody is saying, but I do want to point out business taxes, which are too high, need to be at the very least competitive with the communities that we compare ourselves to and against whom we try to attract businesses. It's our mill rate, both the residential and the business rates, that are more significant. The business tax multiplier is simply a political arbitrary tool that splits the taxes from residential to business, but the real crux of this thing is your mill rate, and a low business tax multiplier does.
I think Harpreet's enjoying having that mute button. Any other rebuttals? Okay, Jonathan, you're up.
Okay, thank you. So this question is for Katie Okell and Karen Brownlee. We'll start with Katie Okell first. What do you see as the most important issue before City Council at this time? What 3 additional issues would you like to see Council focus upon? Katie?
With the really limited time that this seat holds, I would like to focus on something that has a fast, immediate effect. I would love to focus on crime and making Penticton more safe and making our residents feel more safe. I think that that will be more effective on a timely manner during this term. I also think that housing is extraordinarily important. I think that getting more affordable housing and getting more housing for people that want to live here is crucial, particularly for our small businesses. Finally, I think that we need to address the homeless population in creative and innovative ways. I think popping up more and more shelters all over the place is not going to be an effective solution unless we have other programs of support, including mental health, nursing, and creative programs to get them involved in the community. So in my opinion, those are the 3 most important issues in Penticton. I think the last 2 will take significantly more time to address. So I would love to address crime first because I think it has the biggest impact in the shortest amount of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Karen Brownlee, just let me know if you want me to repeat that question. If not, feel free to answer.
Okay, so yes, I mean, obviously everyone knows the biggest concern of City Hall and the residents of the city is crime, is drug addiction, is mental health, and shorting houses, and to some degree seniors. They're all, other than the seniors, they're all linked together to stripping away and finding out how we all came to that. And with the drug addiction people, what we have done in the past is put them all into the same housing where you have the mild-mannered guy and the violent guy in the same building. And so people aren't using these houses because they're fear, as well as the workers who work there. So in City Hall, these things need to be addressed because they're all linked together in one. And it starts with the money. We only have so much money. And where are we going to spend that money, and who will get it and how much will dictate on.
I'm sorry, Karen, your time's run out. We hate having to be so forceful with the time, but time is valuable tonight. Do I see any rebuttals? Any other comments?
Yes, we have 1 rebuttal. It'll be Keith McIntyre.
And Harpreet, I also see James Blake's hand raised. Okay, so we'll start with Keith.
Yeah, I think our biggest issue is just to continue to fight back against the province. As you know, I'm not a huge fan of bureaucracy and government, but the lower the level of government is, the better that it is. And I heard Katie say at the beginning that she was happy that BZ Housing purchased 3 motel properties. Well, again, it's an example of the province doing this without communicating with the city again. So this is now 4 issues where the province has kind of bullied their way into our community. And the government really shouldn't be in the business of housing. If we want more affordable housing, we can get rid of restrictions and a lot of regulations and a lot of money that they're taking out of the builders' hands. But this is now 4 instances where the province is bullying Penticton, and we need to, as municipalities, we need to stand up to that.
Thank you, Keith. James Blake, you have 45 seconds. James, can you unmute yourself, please? James, you're muted.
How about that?
Okay.
I just wanted to make the point real quick that I think our city council needs people on it that have their priorities a little more focused on the people. And we're coming out of a pandemic where suicide rates are off the chain and drug addiction is off the chain. And they're willing to spend $8 to $10 million on a bike lane. That is wonderful. But at this point in time, that money, at least some of it, needs to be redirected to the mental health of everybody in the city.
Thank you, James. Any other rebuttals before we move on? I don't see any, so we'll move on. Next questions.
Sorry, Jonathan, Amelia would like to.
Oh, I'm sorry, Amelia, I didn't see you there.
No problem. Thanks. My rebuttal is to Keith McIntyre. With respect to his idea that Penticton seek an exemption from provincial safety rules, I think it would be extremely irresponsible to do that given the risk of COVID-19. And also, all communities in British Columbia are suffering right now, including ours, but there's no reason why the province would say, okay, Penticton, you guys are the ones who are going to get a special exemption. You don't have to follow the rules. And I would hope that he wouldn't bring something like that to City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Amelia. Any other rebuttals? Okay, now we'll move on to the next question then.
Wow, this is getting interesting. This question is for Kate Hansen and Amelia Boopby. Housing and housing affordability have become hot topics in the city, and they've certainly been hot topics tonight. Recently, 2 developments have been turned down by City Council. What are your plans to encourage housing development to first house Pentictonites, to provide housing for the recruitment of employees from other areas, and finally for growth? Go ahead, Kate.
Thank you. First step, I think we need to allow for the densification within our city, whether that be our changing rezoning within the city, but it's absolute priority for us. We need to ease red tape for our developers so we make it more attractive for people to come into the community and build more housing for this. We need to increase our rental units. And I was very excited to read the news about the province stepping in and buying the 3 hotels that will become affordable housing. You know, Portland had a very, interesting article that I've been researching regarding densification and making smaller homes in lots to allow for more carriage homes and buildings with no extra cost to the taxpayer. And again, like I said, we really need to be creative to allow developers to come in and make it easier and more attractive for them to.
Thank you very much, Kate. Amelia.
Thanks so much. That's a great question. And this is one topic that I'm really passionate about because I think the lack of housing inventory in Penticton is bordering on a crisis. In October, there was less than 1% inventory. So with respect to both of those developments, I think they're both missed opportunities by City Council. One of them should have at least gone to public consultation, and the other was a great proposal that should have gone through. Without added inventory, we won't be able to keep a handle on housing prices in terms of people buying, and we won't be able to attract employees and service workers so that our small businesses can have workers. I would have voted for both of them. Thanks.
Thanks, Amelia. Do we have any rebuttals? Katie Okell.
Thank you. So I would really like to agree with Kate. I think that density is the key here in Penticton. I know a lot of people panic when they hear the D word. I would like to clarify that I don't think that we're talking about skyrises and 16-story apartments. We're talking about duplexes and townhouses and carriage homes, and something that fits into the look and feel of Penticton while adding more units for people to live in, to move here. I think that we really need to avoid sprawl. The property on Spiller Road would have been detrimental to us long-term. The cost to deliver services to people on a sprawl setting is exorbitant to the city. And it also cuts into the beautiful environmental landscape that we have. And we don't want to be another suburb. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. Anyone else for rebuttal? All righty.
Oh, wait, no, wait. Hold
Whoa.
on. It's Karen Brownlee.
Yeah, Karen Brown.
Yes.
Go ahead, Karen.
Okay, so with affordable housing, we need to first verify what that definition is of affordable housing. There are places to rent in Penticton. You might not be able to get a place because you have a big dog that will trash the backyard of the owner's home. You may be having the money to rent, but choosing to spend that money that you are getting on cigarettes, on alcohol, on other things in your life that are eating up your income. So you have no money for rent. So we do in fact have lots of renting places, and we need to find out what that means. Affordable housing, affordable to whom? And as for the
Sorry, Karen, you ran out of time. Any other rebuttals for this one on housing? One more.
I just wanted to make the comment, the new supposedly low income building next to the Skaha park that has just recently opened, they were advertising a 1-bedroom, 650 odd feet, which you can barely swing a cat around in. And it was over $1,400 a month. And we look at the homeless and so many people go, oh, those homeless people just get a job. If you get a job at minimum wage, and even if you're working 40 hours a week at minimum wage, you couldn't afford that. So
James, I have to interrupt you. You've used up your rebuttals.
Okay.
Sorry. So I asked the candidates to remember that they have 2 rebuttals. And once they're used up, they're used up. Anyone else on housing before I turn this back to Jonathan?
Nicole, I see Steve Brown raising his hand. Harpreet, does Steve still have rebuttals available?
I think he might have one.
Yes, he does.
Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you. Contrary to some of the other comments that have been made, affordable housing does require a commitment by senior levels of government. The city has at its disposal planners, bylaws, regulatory processes, and the council that can commit to reducing barriers to new developments. What the city does not have are the financial resources to make affordability a reality. Affordable housing in its many forms for the many groups in need is only achievable through subsidies and concessions provided by senior levels of government. Developers are looking for return on their investments. The cost of investment and construction does not reduce because the result is supposed to be affordable. And I'd just like to make one comment. We can't have a lot of high rises because we are on a
Thanks, Steve. Okay, are we ready to move on? No, Isaac. Isaac, you have a rebuttal?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so just to kind of comment on what Stephen said there, the city might not have all the resources to bring in affordable housing, but what the city does have is city-owned land. And that's why, as my platform kind of points out, is that we would look to zone that land to be affordable housing, and we'd also bring in a city public housing authority to work with those senior levels of government, nonprofit organizations, and developers to build that housing for people. And there is a metric for affordable housing outlined in the official community plan. Is for anyone who it's a 30% off of your pre-tax amount. If you're paying less than that, then it's affordable housing. Anything above that is considered just market housing.
Thanks, Isaac. Okay, gone. Back to you, Jonathan.
Okay, moving on, we're making some progress here. This next question is for James Miller and Keith McIntyre. Do you have any suggestions to extend Penticton's busy season for a tourist-driven business? And how do we become more of a year-round destination? James Miller, can you answer first?
Thank you for the question. First, I wish Apex Mountain did a slightly better job of marketing themselves. It's exceptional skiing up there, and unfortunately, when people from outside of BC think of Okanagan skiing, they think of big white and silver stars. So I think that would help. I fully support festivals and ideas, and that's why the Jazz Festival and the Dragon Boats are so great, because they're held in the shoulder season. And I think tourism, they do a great job of plugging about 5 or 6 really quality businesses, but in the process, they never once, or at least I could see, mention the Bob Ross Art Show, which was literally world class. We have a Toronto caliber bookstore downtown that will draw tourists into town. They don't plug it, so I think there could be a little more consistency in what we plug, but yes, we can be year round. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. And Keith McIntyre, your comments, please.
Yeah, I don't think it's the role of city council to extend the busy season or to interfere in business at all. The best thing that city council can do is to reduce taxes and to give the money back to the businesses and the citizens, and then they can do better things with it. And then, just kind of back to Amelia's comment there. Yeah, every community in BC has been affected by COVID, but if you look at the stats in Penticton and the Okanagan and most of the interior BC, most of the restrictions were not valid. And so we as a community can stand up, as we're doing with the province bullying us on this, and say, hey, what you're doing isn't right for us. It's not right for our community. You're using a sledgehammer across the entire province. Extend our busy season. We have to get a season back. The province just allowed in-person or in-room dining again. I've talked to business owners across the Okanagan, and it's absolutely heartbreaking what has been done to these businesses unnecessarily.
Thank you very much, Keith. Do we have any rebuttals?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Go ahead, Karen.
The question is for year round. We have snow and we have summer, and a lot of the young people want the downhill, snowboarding, skiing, etc. We can also attract families to come down, say at Christmas time. We can go cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, snowmobiling, anywhere here. Like go 10 minutes and you're in the bush in some trail in some park. And to attract that element in the winter, we have summer's covered, but the winter time is what we can do with bringing families.
Thank you, Karen. Any other rebuttals? Thank you very much, everyone. We'll move on to the next question with Nicole.
Thanks, Jonathan. So this question is for Karen Brownlee and Steve Brown. Development permit costs have become a large portion of the cost of new construction. What are your plans to bring these in line to promote new construction in Penticton? Karen, go ahead.
Yeah, no kidding, they have. Hey, it's just gone crazy. And I know that the permit, the dollar value of the permits brought in is just exponential. And I think the city has been trying, and it's staff, it's not council, this is staff. And staff is trying to bring in the money to top up what they can top up to make the books look good of what they're doing. And they targeted the developers and the builders who want to help. As a councillor, I would totally be checking into all of that and seeing how they could be getting rebates, breaks, some kind of building break or something. I'd have to check more into that because I really don't know the finer details. But yes, it is high. Crazy high.
Thanks, Karen. Steve Brown.
Well, I agree with most of those comments, and the reality is that our development costs in this community certainly seem to be higher than in a lot of other areas. And it goes back to my comments on affordable housing and what the council can bring to the table. These regulatory processes and bylaws and our planners are what we can bring to the table. And that whole area of development costs really does need to be looked at. And it's the one area that we can help developers and anybody else coming in to try and build affordable housing or just build housing generally. And I do know that there are some issues around how developers feel that they are not being well treated here. And so a lot of them have a tendency to even avoid trying to do business in Penticton.
Thanks, Steve. Do we have any rebuttal on this one? We have very few rebuttals left. Silence is golden. Okay, Jonathan, over to you.
All right, thanks, Nicole. Okay, as Nicole said, we'll only have 2 questions left. So if you have some rebuttals, consider using them over the next 2 questions. Okay, the next question will be for James Blake and Katie Okell. Okay, this is a long question, so I'll read slowly. The city of Penticton has been known as a city of festivals. In the past 16 months, so many festivals and events have had to be canceled. Volunteers have moved on and the momentum is lost. Financial commitments have been perhaps still had to be fulfilled whether or not the event took place. So sponsorship will be more difficult to attain as so many businesses have been affected by COVID. What do you see as a role of the city of Penticton in helping these events and festivals to get back on track once COVID guidelines allow? James Blake Can you answer first, please?
We're at a very important time in our history in this city. We have to aggressively come out of this pandemic. And I think the only way we're going to do it is for all levels of the city, chambers of commerce, the Downtown Penticton Association. Let's have a huge meeting somewhere, put it in the theater, put 300 people in there and go, what is it going to take to pull us out of this together? And if that means coming up with a reopen plan and putting somebody in charge of contacting all of these organizations and making sure that we can reboot this city 100%, I think that is a dire thing we have to face immediately, or we're going to stumble. Thank you.
Thank you, James. And Katie Okell, your comments, please.
Thank you. So this is something that I have been struggling with in my position on the board of the Naramata Bench Wineries Association. As you might imagine, we hold a lot of events there as well. Festivals are the lifeblood of our town. They're enjoyed by citizens, they're enjoyed by tourists, they bring in a lot of revenue, and it's really important that we keep them. I think that there's a lot of things that we can do to encourage them, but I would also say that it's not as dire as we might think. People are hungry for something to do other than sit with their family members in their homes. So I think when we start things, we will see a larger attendance than you might expect. I think things that we could do as a city is waive permits. We could maybe talk about sharing security costs. We could share promotion costs. We could work with Travel Penticton to try and make it easier for these festivals to get back up and running and on their feet, because they're desperately needed by everybody and also vividly enjoyed by everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. And once again, opportunity to use your rebuttal. Do you have any left? Okay, I guess everyone's waiting for the last question to use a rebuttal. Okay, I'll turn this back over to Nicole.
All right, we're coming to the end, folks. This is the last question. Penticton relies heavily on tourism, but the COVID-19 pandemic has had serious impacts on many Penticton businesses. The City of Penticton follows public health protocols very thoroughly, but has not publicly encouraged citizens medically able to get vaccinated to do so. Should the City of Penticton publicly encourage citizens to get vaccinated, emphasize the safety of the vaccines, and educate the population that this is the safest, fastest way to return our community to normal? Jason, this is for you, and then Isaac.
Yeah, thank you for the question. You know, I think we saw in recent weeks with the actual closure of highways and travel around the province, what that does to tourism and visitors traveling in our areas. So seeing that being lifted with the plan to be lifted with the last announcement out of the province, that was backed by the success of vaccination and what's working in the province. So if the City of Penticton, the City of Penticton is donating the space for it to happen. IHA is obviously the organization that's making it happen on the ground. If the City of Penticton needs to come out and make a public statement to encourage people, then of course I would like to see that so we can return to a normal economy as soon as possible.
Thanks, Jason. Isaac, you're up.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, I agree that I believe the City of Penticton could be doing more to promote the getting people vaccinated and and helping to move our province forward to into our restart plan. Here, it's great to see that over 60% of the eligible people in this province have got their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. I think what comes with that marketing as well, though, is that the City of Penticton, moving forward from this, must also take into effect that the tourism industry is also going to be affected by climate change and with more forest fires and more flooding. And our restart plan should be looking at moving into a year-round economy. And that's why my platform is bringing that plan forward by working with the college to bring in an influx of people in the in the winter time to help out the hospitality industry and those businesses that rely on an influx of people in this town.
Thanks, Isaac. Well, we do have two candidates with a rebuttal left. Hopefully you know who you are. Do you have any interest in taking on the question of whether the city of Penticton should be encouraging vaccination? James Miller, you're right.
Thank you. That's somewhat inaccurate, in my humble opinion. Mayor John Basilaki posed for a photo for the Penticton Herald by Mark Brett, which was also shared with the Penticton Western News and I believe also Castanet. Citizens, it was the big Bernie Sanders meme thing of the day where, hey, I got vaccinated or whatever. So they were doing a terrific job of that. John Basilaki is a restaurateur and a property owner. He's not a medical doctor. Dr. Bonnie Henry is doing a superb job of getting the message out. We also have the anti-vax rallies, which police don't seem to want to get involved with, but I do think they've done an adequate to good job. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Any other rebuttals?
I think Kate Hansen.
Right. I'll use my last one.
Excellent.
Excellent is right. Thank you. You know, I believe the city must continue to do everything they can to help get, you know, our community restarted by promoting COVID vaccinations. This is going to, you know, just feed into safety, sustainability, and livability in our community. So everything we can do to get on board is a good thing. So thank you.
Thank you. Wow, it's 7:15. We're right on time. Right on time for closing remarks.
Closing remarks, and I'll read off the list again. The candidates will get 45 seconds each to end off with their closing remark, and then we'll just give Jonathan, our president, a few moments to have some final remarks. So first, we're gonna go backwards now, and we're gonna start with Katie Okell.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank everyone for joining us here today. It has been so inspiring to see all of the views from all of the other candidates and get to touch base with everyone. Much like all of the small businesses in town, Penticton is really at a tipping point right now. I think that the next steps that we take are extraordinarily crucial in terms of how we're going to come out of this pandemic and how we're going to solve all of the large issues that we've discussed here tonight. I think that there have been some very solid ideas from a lot of our candidates. I think, in my opinion, that we really need to focus on tackling crime. We need to start getting creative, and we need to start looking at proven solutions that other cities have done to figure out what they have done, because our problems are not unique. Instead of trying to solve our own problems, let's look at best practices from other communities and adapt them and put a Penticton spin on them. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Katie. Next, we have Keith McIntyre.
Yeah, thank you. It was tough to be out of rebuttals on that last question. I am going to respond to it real quick, though. I don't think the government should be responsible for coercing people into medical procedures. If you want to get the vaccine, get the vaccine. If you don't, you don't. It's not really the government's job to convince people to get a emergency approved medical procedure. It might be the best thing in the world. I don't know, but it's personal choice. As far as city council and what I can do for the city, you know, I've been here for 10 years. Very easy to see what I've done for the community as far as volunteering and my love for the community. I'll stand up and I'll do what's right. I balance, I use data-driven decisions, and I think we can reduce our reliance on government, and we can take our community and make it whatever we want. We don't have to wait for the government to tell us.
Thanks, Keith. Now we have James Miller.
Thank you to the organizers of tonight's event, and thank you to the other 9 candidates for their thoughtful discussion. I appreciate that. Again, the theme of my campaign is local. Everything that we are purchasing is done local, and that's something that I've always followed my entire life, and certainly here in Penticton. I shop locally. I support the independent coffee shops. I generally don't go to the chains unless I absolutely have to, and I would encourage others to do that. Unfortunately, a lot of the questions tonight dealt with negativity, but this is a great city, and we've got a great city council, school board, the best fire chief in the province, great police force. Let's say what's good about Penticton rather than what's bad. It's Miller time.
Thank you, James. Jason Cox.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for attending and for putting this event on. As I said in my opening, this is a pivotal election with a very short runway. When people are making a choice in this election, I hope that you vote for someone who is served on, every committee relative to what we just talked about today, who's been elected to represent the business community in this community for 16 years, who can step in and lead and be part of this council effectively, working from day one. For more information, check out my website, ourpenticton.ca, my Facebook group, Our Penticton. Email me, jason@ourpenticton.ca, or give me a call, 250-328-2028. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Now we have James Blake.
Thank you very much. Tonight proves that there is so much talent and ideas in Penticton that we have the ability to pull ourselves out of anything. I think we do need to not necessarily go back to the entrenched political people that are in this city. We need new ideas and we need change. And I encourage the voters to vote for new ideas and come together and aggressively pull ourselves out of this pandemic with a fresh set of eyes. Thank you.
Great, thank you, James. Karen Brownlee.
Hi, yes, and thank you for everyone attending and for hosting. It's been a real treat and an eye-opener as well. If elected, I will go into City Hall with my platform being fiscal responsibility, because the dollars that we bring in whatever form is what makes us live, how well we live or how well we do not live. So I will be investigating all of that to strip away a lot of the things that we have been focusing on regarding homeless, mental addictions. We need to strip it back down to the core and start building again and making sure that these people get the proper health and feeling well-being and the proper support that they can get, not only from the community, but for council.
Thank you, Karen. Next, we have Amelia Boopby.
Thanks again to our hosts and to the business community. I hope that from my answers tonight, you can see that I share the same concerns as business owners regarding taxation, crime, lack of housing, and attracting employees, and that I'm committed to working with businesses to address your needs as your next city councillor. My family roots as a small business owners and my background as a lawyer, I think, make me the right choice going forward. And I promise to bring your concerns to council, to vote for you and work hard to keep Penticton a place where you're the backbone of our community. So thank you so much. And you can go to electamelia.com for more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Amelia. We now have Isaac Gilbert.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this event and your sponsors. My final words, go to isaacforcouncil.com and you'll see that I have a platform that has forward thinking and looking to the future of Penticton and trying to build that year-round economy to sustain our businesses in town, to bring affordable housing, to take care of the community that we have. Also, too, I want to make it also known as well for the people who are watching, we are going to be having a referendum as well in regards to the Marina at Skaha Lake Road, and to inform yourself about that decision for this upcoming by-election. And so please, on council, I will be following a lot of the official community plan and ensuring that, that we're pragmatic about how we move forward in this town.
Great, thank you, Isaac. Steve Brown.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the Chamber for hosting this, and to all of the other candidates, good luck. It's been very informative and really a great evening to hear everybody. After 42 years in Penticton and having been involved in business as an employee, a senior manager, an owner, as a volunteer, sitting on committees for years, and my extensive resume, I feel I can hit the ground running. I follow city council, and through my associations, I have a good feel for what's happening in the community. I have many contacts in the fields of concern and resources to call upon. I can come to the table and be effective from day one. It's experience that matters. And thank you all very much. I can see that we're all passionate about Penticton.
Thank you, Steve. And last, Kate Henson.
Thank you to the Chamber, and I want to personally extend my thanks to all of you for taking the time to listen to what myself and the other candidates have to say and to offer. In recent years, you might argue that true listening has disappeared and we've forgotten what it's like to really communicate. Just open dialogue, no agendas, to seek first to understand and then to be understood. In running for council, I have no hidden agenda, no motives. I am honest, I am empathetic, and I truly want what's best for my hometown. First and foremost, I'll be here to listen to you and then to take your voice to City Council. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Thank you to all the candidates. Thank you for everyone for watching. I am now going to pass it on to our president, Jonathan McGraw, to say some final words to us. Now, Jonathan?
First time at this, I guess, eh? Thank you, everyone. This has been a truly great evening. We appreciate all your effort you put into answer your questions. They're very thoughtful responses. You know what? There's differences, and that's fine. Everyone's going to have differences. But one thing I think we all have in common is that we all love Penticton. We all want to put Penticton first. And you know what? Penticton is a great place to live and a great place to work. We may have said something, some of the questions might be, makes Penticton sound like we've got problems, but you know what? So do other cities, other small towns. We're not much different from other towns with problems. It's how we come together, how we communicate, it's how we work together makes us different. And I look forward to seeing one of you be on council, elected to council. And I just wish there was more vacancies on council. And I'm sure if you don't get voted in this year, we hope to see you run again when the next general election is, because I think everyone has a value to add to council and really, really appreciate the effort you put forward. I would be remiss if I don't thank our sponsors, our Heck Yeah Media, and Lindy from the Association of Interior Realtors. Thank you for sponsoring tonight's event, and Heck Yeah for doing all the background techie stuff, because if it was left for me, everyone would be on mute the whole time. Okay, so thank you, Heck Yeah Media. And we couldn't have done this, of course, without the chamber staff, and that's Diane and Terry. You guys do a heck of a job at the chamber. If you've never worked with Diane or Terry before, give them a call, talk to them. They're great, and the chamber board would not be in existence without people like Diane and Terry, and also Christina. So Christina, I don't know if she's on the chat tonight, but Christina as well. So yeah, the election's coming up. We wish you all the very best. And I forgot to thank Nicole. Nicole, thank you for moderating as well. So, and as you know, Nicole is a past president and she's the advocacy chair. And the advocacy group really works hand in hand with the city. So, when I say hand in hand, there's an overlap. There's a lot of the concerns that the city has that we have on the board of Penticton Chamber of Commerce. And advocacy looks after those concerns, and we're very active in that, and especially Nicole as advocacy chair, and she's going to have a very busy weekend at the BC Chamber AGM. So thank you everyone for coming out tonight, and we wish you the very best in this election. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
So James, Jason, I think you guys are still on. Do you have any questions?
I don't know who's still
Hey,
here,
guys.
Jonathan.
We're still on Facebook.
Thank you to everyone for everything you did to make this happen tonight.
You're welcome, Jason.
Have a good night, everybody.
You too.